It has never been harder to buy a home in the province of BC. Hey, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Vancouver Life Real Estate Podcast. We often look at what's going on in the GVRD. We often look at what's happening in Metro Vancouver. And then we often look at what's going on across the nation. We don't often talk about what's happening in BC as a province. And we thought that we would dissect that right now for you guys, because there's some crazy stats taking place right now. So this one's going to be a bit of a short one. We're going to jump through it, hit you guys with all the facts. And Dan, why don't you lead off with where kind of we're at in terms of maybe a quick recap on August, set the stage for the conversation.
Will do. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So BC in the month of August saw about 9,500 homes sell. Now, for perspective, that is actually down from August of 2020, down by about 7%. I think this is largely due to the fact that there's so few homes to choose from, and we'll dive into that into a second here. It's a bit of a scary number. The total active residential listings across the province are down 38% from last August. Wow. And pulling back even more, 42% below the normal levels for the month.
So let's put that into a bit of perspective here, because obviously those are big numbers to drop by. But in terms of let's go back maybe, I don't know, back to 2009. We go back a significant duration in time, and we look, what was the province? What did they have for inventory, and where are we at now comparatively, right? So if we go back to 2009, if you can believe this, there were 60,000 homes for sale, right? We fast forward to today, and there's 20,000 by comparison. Same time, just, what is that? 12 years and 11 years forward, 12 years forward, 11,
12.
Yeah. 12. Yeah. What month are we in? I don't know. Essentially, though, what that means is it's the lowest it's ever been on record, right? Outside of the financial crisis in 2008 and 2009, the inventory in BC has been on a decline since 2012. 7 out of the last 9 years. It's not looking good for buyers. It's definitely not getting better.
Yeah, I want to extrapolate a little bit on that record comment, because like Ryan just said, 20,000 homes in active inventory for the province is the lowest in recorded history. But you know what's the highest in recorded history right now? The population of the province. So you've got population going up and inventory going down, and you can just see why this is becoming such a crisis, if you will, of why it's so hard to find a good home for sale right now, because there's a third of the homes available than there were 12 years ago. Now, yes, 2009 was a bit of a peak because we were coming off of the 2008-9 crisis. But again, to see a steady decline for 7 of the last 9 years really kind of gives you an indication of where things are continuing to head.
I would tend to agree. And to give you guys some, Dan mentioned about population there, because it's important. And if you look back in 2009, the population in the province was about 4.4 million. You fast forward to today, we're 700,000 people higher than that at 5.1 million. And people always say, hey, I'm going to wait for the crash to come because, that's going to be my time to buy or my time to accumulate. Look at this. I mean, there's no chance. The demand is so far outweighing the supply right now that, people are they're getting screwed, if you will, out of buying a home right now because there's just nothing to buy, right? And this is reflected in just about every single metric that we're looking at. The sales to active ratio, which is my favorite ratio to look at, it tells you sort of the temperament of the marketplace. Right now, it's at 40%. It's at 40%, and that's after going through 2.5, 3 months of a lull in the marketplace. We saw, I think the lowest it got was maybe the low 30s, high 20s in many instances. And even still, that's still a buyer's market, or sorry, a seller's market. right? We never even got to a balanced market. We never got close. And now we've bounced off of those high 20s and low 30s, and we're back into 40. You know, it's ugly out there if you're trying to buy a house.
It
It
really
really
is. Yeah. And of course, knowing all these metrics with very, very low inventory, with a very high seller's market that we're experiencing right now, understandably, prices are going up. The average MLS price for the province of BC, $902,000. That's the
Whoa.
average price of a home
Holy.
in British Columbia is $902,000. Yes, we all know we've had this obscene year of hyperinflated appreciation rates. So much so that the province of BC experienced a 17.2% average price increase in the last 12 months.
Holy.
That's a very big number, one that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. But let's go further back. Let's see how home prices have been doing for the last 10 years. Well, if we flash back to 2011, that same home that's $902,000 today was $500,000 in 2011.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. I really shouldn't. But it's almost gone up. It's gone up 80%.
Yeah, in
I
10
mean,
years.
and geez, I
Well,
mean,
and go by price point too. That's an average of $40,000 per year in price appreciation for your average BC home over the last 10 years.
whereas, yeah, and I would venture to say that in the last five, I bet you it's much bigger than 40,000 a year,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
agreed.
And the other thing, and the reason I bring that up is because it speaks to the rate of acceleration in price points that we're seeing, right? If you go back 40 plus years, for example, right, you typically look at, if you look at the average sale price 40 years ago versus where we are today, it's roughly 5 to 7% a year that it's gone up, right? But that story doesn't tell you that in the last 10 years, I would say 50% of that gain has taken place, right? Which is the crazy thing. We're seeing an acceleration in prices right now because we're seeing a nosedive in supply, right? So conversely, when your supply drops, you have upward pressure on price because that asset is harder to find and more people will pay more money for it, right? So much so, actually, I'd love to talk about, maybe this is a good time to talk about an anecdotal story that happened yesterday. We had clients that were bidding on a home, nice home. I mean, I don't know if it was anything special, from 1910. So an older home, right? 3-bed, 2-bath. Of those 3 beds and 2 baths, 1 bed and 1 bathroom was in a suite downstairs. So the actual house had 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Nicely renovated in many ways, not new, but probably, a 10-year-old renovation kind of thing. Listed in Grandview Woodlands for 1.7 million. And we actually started our offer a mere $200,000 over the list price, thinking we would be in the conversation. The home sold for $550,000 over the list price with 11 offers on the table. We're talking a $2.25 million home that was 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and 110 plus years old. And not to mention the fact that there was $20+ million on the table for other offers that are still competing for the same neighborhood, right? So yeah, it's not getting better. I don't see it getting better. When you look also further to that point, these particular sellers bought their home 3 years ago, I believe. They bought it about 3 years ago and they paid 1.5 million for it. And they just sold it for 2.25. That's a $700,000+ gain over 3 years. So that home actually appreciated in the last 3 years to $250,000 per year. Just illustrating the point that the acceleration it's here and it's scary.
It definitely seems like detached is still the most sought after. I mean, that was an East Vancouver story. One of our team members offered on a property out in Chilliwack. Original condition, detached home, needed full renovation to be really nice and modernized and useful. Same thing. I believe it had 9 or 10 offers and sold for 70,000, about 10% over a list price.
Mhm. I mean, to be fair, I think the one in East Vancouver was probably listed far too low, right? So that $550,000 number seems extravagant when really, but even still, the eventual sale price of $1,057 per square foot for that home, for a 110-year-old home, $750,000 per bedroom is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what a perfect example of, look, we're putting 70,000 new people into the province every year. And today there's only 20,000 homes available, right? Tight math, very tight math. And you can see why, yeah, these bidding wars exist and why people are willing to pay $500,000 over ask just to get in. Because what if they don't, is I think what the FOMO that they're feeling.
Well, and then if you look at what the OCP plan is for the city as well, it gets worse because single family homes, for new construction of single family homes, will equate for 6% of the whole new home population, right? 50% will be condos, right? You'll see probably a mixture of 20% for duplexes and 20% for townhomes, and then you're going to see, well, we know it's 6% for single family homes, right? So um, it is going the way of the dinosaur. It is not something that our society is going to see a lot of in the future, and thus why people are paying through their teeth for these homes, because they're going to be so hard to find in the very near future, right?
Yeah, and I think to give further example to that, we kind of thought things were going to be relatively flat over summer, which in essence, things definitely slowed down volume-wise, but also, of course, on the listing side, we saw median prices dropping for 4 months in a row, and that was an indicator that things were kind of, off of the peak, cooling down, but where was it going to go? We kind of predicted based on the data that things were going to pick up again in the fall, being, September market to start it all off. And early data, we're 17 days in here, and it looks like things have bounced off the bottom. We'll see how the month wraps up. But to start here, median prices are up to 879K from 855. So $24,000 is the median price increase. But that's the first increase in 4 months. And that's what we really want to kind of point out specifically, is that the median price has bounced off the bottom and has turned around so far. Average price is basically flat. It's only up about $1,000 for the month, the first 17 days of September. Mm. But for the detached market, which can dictate a lot of where things go, median price is up $50,000 already this month, from 1.65 to now 1.7. Should it sustain that 1.7 number, it's the second highest on record for detached homes. Average has gone down a bit. The average home sale price is like $6,000 below where it was last month, but still we're at $1,974,000. So don't feel that 6K as much, but thinking that medium is up 50,000 already this month is a big indicator of what to expect for this month and likely the next few coming up.
Yeah, and we've recently seen articles that have come out in the last couple of days about inflation now hitting 4.1%. It's driving up assets. I mean, quantitative easing is still taking place, right? Interest rates are they've maintained where they are. There appears to be, whatever that means, elasticity in the market. But I just, at this point, with the rate of increase in property prices that we're seeing, I tend to believe that inflation could be problematic in the very near future, right?
We also had a couple banks lower their mortgage rates last month too. So access to capital, access to credit just got a little bit easier at some lenders. BOC, Bank of Canada, all but guaranteeing these record low rates for about the next year from their standpoint. And so, expect it to continue. Yeah, and then there you go. And of course, the QE is going to continue in the duration as well. That all leads to further asset price inflation. So, I love it or absolutely hate it. It's what's happening. Yeah. So plan accordingly.
The only thing that maybe I'll want to touch on that's kind of outside the province of BC, because we're in a federal election here, and parties are coming out and promising that we need 1 million more homes and that we're going to build that or something to that effect. It's a lot of fluff, but it is what it is. By comparison, in the States, for example, CNBC just came out with an article on September 14th saying America is short more than 5 million homes, and they can't make up the difference. So it's not just happening here, right? It's happening obviously in the States and in other parts of the world. But again, this further to the point, if we think lumber prices are expensive now, if we go ahead and build 5 million homes down in South plus 1 million homes up here, prices are for materials are going to go through the roof. Wait times to build these homes are going to increase dramatically because there's just not enough builders for all of this stuff. All of this, what I'm getting to, is a derivative of price increase and inflation, right? It's I don't see it stopping. I don't know how it does, right?
There you have it. I think that's where we wrap this one up today. Thank you as always so much for listening and watching. And if you're on YouTube, the button's down there. Please subscribe so we can keep doing this stuff for you. And for our podcast followers, please join your streaming service. Thanks again, and we will talk to you guys more next week.